This episode of Cello Chat is brought to you by Carriage House Violins of Johnson String Instrument. Please visit us at www.carriagehouseviolins.com.
Okay, and we are live.
Hello, do I start?
Oh yeah, if you can just give a brief intro about yourself and any projects, that would be great.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Taeguk Mun. I'm a cellist from South Korea, 28 years old, turning 29 quite soon. I just, I mean, um, I I'm pursuing the artist diploma program at Juilliard right now. Um, Upcoming projects would be I leave for Bremen, Germany in 2 days to play with the Bremer Philharmonic. I'm playing the Brahms Double Concerto with Jiyoung Lim. And we also have a tour in Korea with Bremen Philharmonic um, right afterwards. So I'll be traveling. And then I have a few projects in Korea, including Seoul Spring Festival and the Beethoven, I think it's called the Beethoven Project at the Seoul Art Center, playing some Beethoven trios and the sonatas. Um, um, and I mean, afterwards, for the summer, I'm going to the Marlborough Festival for the first time, and I'm very excited about it. Um, yeah, and I guess I'll have fun. Okay, so got the questions for in the practice room series. What's on your music stand right now? Well, I just have my bow on the stand right now because um, because I'm traveling in a few days. I'm moving out of my apartment for the summer, and I couldn't really, make room to, do this at home. So I just came to school to do it, and I wasn't really practicing before today. So there's nothing on the stand. I mean, if anything, would be the Brahms double because I have to play it in a few days. And what's the what is the first thing you do on the cello every day? Well, I always like to start my day with cleaning the strings and rosining the bow, and then I guess I tune. um, I try to do open strings a lot in the beginning, just to kind of feel the openness and the space of the space I'm practicing in. So and just to hear the sound filling up the space and kind of you know deciding how much how much I can give and how much I can reserve and everything. So I get used to hearing in different spaces and then I do a little bit of exercises. I don't really do scales these days. I should be more responsible. um, I just do. Actually, this exercise is very helpful. I learned it from a friend, violinist friend. Um, so it's like it's doing trills in dotted rhythm and just really dropping the fingers on the fingerboard to feel the weight and the transfer of the pressure between different fingers. And that really frees up my left arm, and I do open strings with my right arm. And then I guess I get started playing whatever I have to practice. Okay. Why do you practice? Okay. What drives and motivates you? Anything that helped during the pandemic? Um, I think during the pandemic, I was I mean I was very lucky because I was back in Korea, and they were, trying to organize concerts, both remote and live with distance seating. And I actually, by staying in Korea during pandemic, I was able to experience different types of projects. Like I once played in a museum, a live streamed concert in a museum with all the paintings, and it was very special to be around, you know, other types of genres of art, and just kind of feeling the inspiration from the paintings around. What was it? What drives and motivates you? Well, I mean, first of all, I have to play concerts and play for lessons and, learn new pieces. I love expanding my repertoire and learning new pieces. So I get very motivated if I hear something new that I want to learn. But also, I mean, we all know, I mean, as cellists, that Pablo Casals once said, the reason he practices is because he feels that he gets better every time he practices. So I think that was very inspirational, and I try to have that kind of approach when I'm practicing. And I mean, if I don't want to practice, I actually just let go and not practice, maybe for a few days even, because I don't want to force myself so much to do what I love. I feel like I just have to, want to do it more than pushing myself to do it. So I think that's kind of how I keep my passion. Yeah. What do you enjoy the most about practicing? Well, just feeling more and more comfortable, and being able to express more freely, I think really motivates me to practice, and I enjoy that aspect of practicing, where I do slow practice, or whatever, like open strings without left hand, without the bow. I try all sorts of different combinations, just to so that I have the ingredients ready, so that when I want to make music that I want to hear, and I feel it's more available. And that, I guess, the question is, what inspires you? And I think that kind of answers that question. Is it all classical, or are there inspirations outside of this genre? Well, I actually don't listen to classical music a whole lot. I Not exclusively classical music, but I try to listen to different genres. If I'm, kind of stuck with, if I fall in love with one genre, then I just keep listening and just try to, think about it and feel it. Nowadays, it's like I'm kind of into like the late 90s Korean, like, what do you, not really K-pop, but like more like, indie singers, and I think they're very expressive. I love the lyrics. That are very poetic, and the great melodies. And I mean, right before that, I was really into jazz. So I guess I kind of find inspirations. I try to find inspirations wherever I can, and yeah. Mm. Question from our YouTube audience. How do you translate stuff from practice room to performance? When I perform, I'm distracted, and it causes even the basics to go away. I feel like I can't even be a musician because of my stage fright. Thank you for your time. Okay, thank you for your question. I guess for me, as I approach a performance, I try to do it. I try to kind of simulate in the practice room what it would feel like, the air, the acoustics, people staring at me, a pianist or orchestra behind me, the interaction with conductor or the pianist or the other colleagues that would play maybe chamber music with me, and I just try to picture myself in it, not only from the stage but also from the audience's perspective, so that when I perform, I don't worry so much about what I would look like when I play, because I mean it's not to stage all the gestures or anything, just so that from the audience's perspective, what I'm doing is okay. And also, as I mentioned before, I really try to get all the basics and technical aspects more prepared, so that on the stage, if I feel so that I can just play whichever way I want to at the moment. I mean, it doesn't always happen. Sometimes, I mean, most of the time, I practice with certain kind of phrasing and gestures and lines. But I think once I feel that I have the ingredients, I think I feel quite prepared and confident to make music more than to play the notes. I don't know if that helps, but yeah, that would be my answer. Question from Frank Bell. Is it okay if I say the names?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Considering perfection in both subjective and unattainable, when preparing a new piece for performance, how do you know when to stop obsessing and let go? I think it's more personal, but for me it's a fine line where I feel like it's ready and or not, because I mean I might have more musical ideas on a piece, but not feel quite solid yet with the technique. But also, I mean, the other times I know I can play all the notes, but there's just no like idea what to make of the notes. And I think I think I try to go back and forth, like obsessing and kind of letting go, and kind of find balance between the 2 points. I think if I stop obsessing, I mean, of course, I let go more of the pieces on the pieces that I know better, because I know how the piece works and what I think of the pieces. And I mean, I have like clearer ideas of what I want to do musically. But if if the pieces are relatively newer, then I try to go back and forth and just to really focus only maybe like, I don't know, even like for a week I just do like only slow practice, just trying to get all the fingerings and how it would work when I play slowly and in tempo, and kind of letting go and just trying to play, and then going back to the obsessing part. And and trying to figure out how to make it better, so that I feel better letting it go. Um, I don't know if that answered the question. Okay. Question from John Saunders. What was the process of preparation for the required contemporary work in the finals of the Queen Elisabeth competition? How were you able to get the piece performance ready with such a short timeline? Well, I mean, so you once you're in the finals, you're put at the Chapelle for a week to just stay there and kind of work on the piece on your own. And I mean the piece I played, Jörg Wittmann's fifth Albumblätter, was quite challenging, of course, but I mean a day is I don't know. I realized how long the day was at the Chapelle, and what from the moment I opened my eyes, I mean the only thing I think about is the piece, especially the first few days, because you're kind of um, you have to kind of obsess over it, so that you keep working and feel the motivation to do it. Um, and I mean, I try to go through the same process, obsessing and letting go, and just going back and forth. So like the first 2 days, I mean, for me, if I remember correctly, the first few days I just tried to get all the notes, the double stops, the running notes, the shifts, everything you know with proper balance between the left arm and the right arm. And then like third day, I knew I couldn't play all the notes, but I just kind of let go and just played through a few times to see how it feels and where I should make changes. And then I go back for like another day, just slow practice. And I mean, it was a lot of time to practice, to be honest, because I mean, I guess you sleep maybe like 8 or 9 hours a day, so that's already six, like 15, 16 hours left. And you eat, chat with the colleagues there at the Chapelle, and take walks. And I mean, you're still left with like around like 8, 10 hours. And I mean, there's not much to do either, because they take away all the your cell phone, laptop, anything mobile. You're just left with a metronome, your cello, and the music. So I mean, it was very inspiring week. If I if if I should do it again, I don't know if I can do it again, but I mean, it was a great experience, and I kind of after that week, I really felt more confident in what I could achieve, but when I work harder and more focused, and it just kind of gave me more confidence, and also a better kind of planning and process of learning a new piece. Okay. Question from our YouTube audience. Prior to the idea of perfectionism, when tackling a new difficult work, what would you emphasize most? Well, I mean, it would depend on the player, of course, but for me, I just try to have everything available, as I mentioned before. All the notes and the technical aspect, so that when I want to make music, I don't feel like I still have to learn the notes and kind of push myself to do it, but it feels more natural, and it becomes my language. Yeah, I think that just really knowing the piece inside out is really important, both technically and musically, mentally. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I always try to go step by step. So I think that kind of works for me. Okay. As an active soloist with a very packed schedule, what is your practice routine like? How do you keep such a vast amount of repertoire in your fingers? Well, I mean, nowadays I'm also teaching quite a lot. But with teaching, traveling, and practicing, so I try to put aside the practice time always, to a minimum of maybe, I mean, even like an hour or two, just so I feel I remember what it feels like to play. But I mean, I think I'm when I learn a piece, the technical aspect comes a little bit quicker than the musical ideas. So I guess that for me is quite helpful, and I feel lucky because I learn the notes, and then I can think about the piece more musically, away from the cello also. So I think that helps me a little bit. But I mean, just really also when I practice, before I practice, I try to determine what I need to work on that day or that hour or so, and just really going for it in every possible approach, so that I feel more comfortable, and then I don't have to worry so much about that particular part of the music, so that later when I come back to practice, I can worry about something else and not do everything again. I think that's kind of my strategy. Okay. Question from our Facebook audience. Hello, hi. We've enjoyed your performances. Thank you. Do you have any exercises to develop artistic vibrato? Well, yeah, yes, but I think it's. I mean, I think it's quite basic. I have my cello here. I mean, when I'm practicing for vibrato, I always, I just do, what you do when you first learn the vibrato, just going, in rhythm. But then after, really feeling the the arm when I vibrate, more loose and relaxed. I try to practice without vibrato a lot and just listen to the sound that the bow's making, and then so with the sound that coming from the bow, I try to figure out how much of vibrato I want to hear. So I guess it's a lot of listening than actually, practicing, because I mean, vibrato is mostly I guess the width and the speed, when it comes down to, deciding what kind of vibrato, it's mostly about the width and the speed. And I think if you're able to vibrate in any width, in any speed, then as you listen and keep thinking, the vibrato kind of comes more naturally instead of just vibrating every note the same way. I think just listening really hard and just knowing what you want to listen to in your vibrato is very important. Okay. Question from SD Berkist. What advice do you have for players who tend to play with too much tension and are struggling? I forget where I saw this, but I mean, when I work with students, if they seem tight, I always have them actually tighten up their shoulders as much as they can, and then just letting go of the tension all of a sudden, and just feeling that drop of your arm structure on top of your body. So I guess the lower back, for me, the lower back has to support very intensely, and kind of just resting the arm on the body rather than trying to play with the arms really helps. Just feeling that drop onto the body, and feeling freer. I was watching a master class given by Marcy Rosen the other day, and she made I don't know if anyone here also saw the master class, but she was talking about how how you use the bow it's almost like when you swim with your whole arm. This doesn't get you so far, or if you're tight, but if you really just relax and try to push the water with the weight, and I guess also the momentum, it opens up the sound and it opens up the body, and I think just feeling freer in the upper body, supported by the lower back, and lower body is very important to feel more relaxed. Yeah, I would just keep doing this, just tightening up as much as you can, and then letting go, so you actually feel the drop rather than just trying to feel relaxed from from the state you are already in. I think that it kind of doesn't really give a bigger difference than when you actually really tighten up and let go. And also just I guess thinking about pulling and pushing of coming from the bigger muscles and the strings from one side to the other, more than just sliding on top of the string. So kind of really pulling and pushing and feeling the friction. I always tell people that I work with, I always say, try to feel every grain of rosin kind of being pushed onto one side by really making a good contact and just pulling and pushing through. And I think most of the time it helps. So maybe you could, they could think about that. Question from Johnny Cheng. How do you practice your right hand technique in order to improve technically, such as playing more legato? Thank you. I mean, I really try to use different different parts of the muscles in the right arm for different articulation and different, you know, lengths and speed of, you know, of the bow. So just go, I mean, as I mentioned in the beginning, I try to do open strings and really try to feel the bigger muscles in the back and, you know, in the front, and kind of, you know, coming down onto smaller muscles and feeling the difference, but also not. I always think that the bow should never kind of go only horizontally, but there's a little bit of circulation in energy that needs to happen when you change the bow, because I guess once you come to a wall, you kind of have to start again, and that gives a new impulse. I mean, you some I mean sometimes you need that new impulse, but as you mentioned, that when you're playing more legato, I think it really helps to just, you know, to circulate the energy rather than, you know, going in one direction and the other. So that um, you feel a little bit more of the, what's that word, of whatever this is. That's the circulation. um, and just, yeah, I think just I really just try to use bigger muscles and really open up, especially when I have to play legato and louder, because we kind of, you know, tend to push down onto the cello, but that actually kills the vibration. So I think just really feeling um, the pull and push. Um, yeah, I feel like I'm emphasizing pull and push a lot today, but yeah. Okay. Continuing in the practice room questions below. In your mind, what is it that makes an effective practice session? Um, I mean, if I want to be really efficient when I'm practicing, um, I I try to just set realistic goals. I don't try to push myself too much, but I just maybe have, you know, two, three things that I really want to nail down while practicing, and it could be like for half an hour, 1 hour, or all day. It doesn't really matter, as long as, you know, you kind of set um the practice session, but just really, you know, trying to nail it down, and also at the end putting it in context and actually seeing how it plays in the context. So that, I mean, if you don't feel so good about it, if I don't feel so good about it, then I know what other things to work on in those same, you know, same parts of the music. Um, yeah. So I think that I would call that an effective practice session. Just knowing what you want to work on, what you need to work on, and just really um, doing it without being um, without pushing yourself too far. Um, I I I mean, personally, I believe that there's a certain level of improvement you can make in one day. It doesn't. I mean, you don't go from like, you know, beginner to, you know, Rostropovich in one day. You just have to kind of think of building up um, whatever you need to work on. So I mean, sometimes what I plan to, you know, have ready doesn't always work, and I just say, I guess that's me today, and maybe tomorrow I'll do a little better, and then I kind of try to forget about it. Um, yeah, and yeah. So I guess that I would call an effective practice session. What are the best ways to prevent injury? Um, I mean, if something feels not right, it's either it's better for you, but it's not. It's just not in your playing in your habit, or the other times it's just not right for your body. And I think kind of determining between the two um, is tricky in the beginning, especially. But I mean, if you play long enough, um, you know of your strengths and your weaknesses, and if you feel something to be weaker and you try harder and something feels not right, then maybe I would try to approach in a different way. Um, but I think when I play, I always try to it. I mean, when I hear about injuries, it's always the tendons or the muscles, and I feel that if you know if your posture is more neutral, not nothing to you know nothing unnatural, but more neutral, in neutral position where the hands want to be, then I think it can help prevent injury. Because I mean I guess injuries happen when you use something extensively for a long period of time, and if it happens, then you just have to. I mean, you have to rest first, but also just trying to see how you can make it feel better. I mean, for example, if you have injury in the left arm, or in the left arm. I mean, sometimes I see that when I work with people, they tend to go, maybe the wrist comes down a little bit, or the fingers are a little too far away from the fingerboard. I mean the palm, and just I always say, play like when you're sitting in an armchair, um, because you wouldn't sit like this in an armchair. You just relax and feel the weight, but also you don't. I mean, you don't go like this. So it's more neutral and relaxed, and just trying to slowly build up strength that way. And I think building strength is also very important, because I mean, when you're trying to change a habit, it's not going to happen in one day, of course, and you kind of have to build up for it, and just doing slowly and very relaxed, and kind of giving then more release, or more intensity. I don't want to say tension, but I like saying the word intensity in the fingers, so that you feel solid but not stiff, and it's flexible but it's not sloppy. And I think feeling that neutral state is very important in preventing injuries. Okay, follow-up question from SD Burkist. Sorry, I don't. I mean, if I'm wrong with pronouncing the names, I apologize. That was great advice for the right arm hand, but what advice do you have regarding left hand tension? Okay, yeah, I think I kind of just answered that in the previous question. So just I mean, at one point I felt a little bit tight in the tricep area, because I guess I was kind of pulling down a little bit too much onto the fingerboard. So I guess if something feels wrong, then it's mainly because it's pulling too much. It's contracting too much, or extended too much. So like this way, or if you pull down, then you're kind of contracting the muscles here. So just finding the neutral state. This is from my one of my old teachers, Mr. Lesser. He made me point. I don't know if anyone here is familiar with this, probably. So he would make me kind of point straight out from the shoulder, and without changing angles of your wrist and the finger, kind of bringing the fingertip to your nose, and just going down to the fingerboard to feel the neutral state, the so that it's more straight, so you're not pulling the tendons in one way or the other. And I think that really helped me kind of find the position. Question from Samantha Ram. Thank you for this chat. How do you approach expressive shifts, and how do you work on varying the timing and speed of these shifts? For instance, in the third movement and coda of the last movement of the Elgar Concerto. For me, when it's more, practical or expressive, I always try to feel the notes in between, so that I'm not just, only thinking about one point to the next and how to get there, but just how much. I guess it depends on how much I want to feel the notes in between, how much I want to feel the connection in between. So I guess like coda of the last movement, like third movement, like wait. I guess when you go as an example, if you go from the half position to, instead of just thinking to get from here to here, kind of I always try to map it out, also for intonation, but to feel the connection, so that if I want to kind of go towards it more, I can kind of let go a little bit more and feel the connection faster. But especially when I do slower shifts, kind of feeling feeling the elbow kind of going with the hand, because personally I think that the whole fingerboard is quite simple in the left hand approach, because left hand's perspective, because if you move the elbow angle throughout the whole fingerboard, you kind of have the same mechanism and shape for every position. It's just a matter of spacing. So if the angle changes as you shift, then it kind of ruins. First of all, it ruins the shape, and you kind of have to play in a new with new system, and also just feeling the elbow allows me to feel the connection on the string with the fingertips a little bit better, because it's not being pushed, but it's you're kind of caressing the fingerboard a little bit when you're shifting, so that you really hear the connection as you shift. I don't know if that helped. Question from Johnny Cheng. Do you have any advice on how to manage string crossings effectively while still voicing treble and bass line, such as Piatti 7? Thank you for your insight. Okay. Well, I always try to. It's the same with left hand. I think same concept. If I really think about using the bigger muscles and the elbow to manipulate string crossings, I feel it much more stable, and also the weight is already there when you get to the string. So instead of maybe like as you gave the example of Piatti 7, if it's a little bit too stationary in the elbow, then you kind of lose lose weight and contact at different on different strings, because the elbow is kind of focused more on one string, whichever string it is. I mean, if you or this way, but if really feeling the weight, the change in angle to support the weight coming down from shoulder, I think is very important, especially when you're playing chords. Instead of just going straight down to the lower string and kind of choking the lower strings, maybe if the elbow went a little bit sooner, just so that you can feel more grounded and really pull the strings rather than kind of just sliding on the strings. So I don't know if that makes sense. So that just using the elbow to kind of shift gears in giving weight onto the bow, I think it's very helpful for me. Question from Jeromos Zatsar. I'm currently experiencing pain in my right hand, even though my shoulder is in the right and neutral position. I guess I would have different answers for different parts of the arm, of the hand, right hand. Maybe if it's the right hand, then maybe there's a little bit too much tension coming from the forearm, and the fingers maybe a little bit too tight. If it's more up here, then maybe it's a little bit over relaxed. You can't relax too much, but relaxing is always good. But if it's if you feel relaxed and neutral, but then you kind of push down onto the body even just a little bit more, for me it kind of, instead of getting tense, this way I feel the tension pulling down onto my onto the lower body, and that kind of restricts me. So I would try to use more, or move more, try to open more, which kind of contradicts with with what's happening into the lower body. So it kind of doesn't really make sense for the right shoulder. I don't know if that helped. I think this swimming concept is very helpful, because it forces you to relax every part of your arm. So maybe if you try this and see if anything doesn't feel natural, then maybe that's where it's causing the pain, where the pain is coming from. Um, okay. What is your favorite way to change things up and get new ideas in your practice? I mean, I do listen to recordings, but I try not to so much. Um, I mean, I for me, I just have to feel really comfortable with the piece, both technically and musically. And as I think not just practicing, but if it's a piece that I performed a lot, then I know what it feels on the stage. And sometimes I get new ideas on the stage, but I don't do them simply because I don't want to, change things up, jeopardizing the clarity and precision that I practiced for. But I try to remember those and kind of do it in the next performance or something. Yeah, but I guess as you play more, I mean, as it becomes your language, you feel more flexible to change things up and get new ideas. So I think it's really just really knowing the music. Um, yeah. Mm, how has your practicing evolved over the years or even recently? Is there anything that has surprised you? Um, I mean, I that idea of, really having everything more technically ready and, so that I feel freer when I make music has been like an idea that I had in my practicing for a long time. Um, but I mean, well, no, I think just it hasn't like really evolved, I would say, but it feels more and more solidified my approach to practicing, and I know it works for me. Maybe something else might work better for me, but as of now, I like working on stuff that way, and I just try to do it more and more efficiently. Um, and I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I guess I would always have to kind of think, of course, when I practice. Um, Question from Peter Murphy. Can you describe the various teaching styles that you have experienced either directly or indirectly in your career? What were the pros and cons of each? And how did you begin and develop your teaching skills, and how have they evolved over time? Okay. I mean, there's um, there's more musical and teaching styles that are more focused on musical ideas and the way of thinking, both not only musically but also technically, but also I mean some other in other styles it's a little bit more from the ground up, from the foundations, and just really um, just trying to build up step by step. And I think both are very important. Um, but for me, I feel like at first I was just talking about things that I heard from my teachers, and I was kind of trying to like copy their styles, like I would say the same thing. I mean, I would always credit them, but I would always say the same things that I heard, but then I started realizing it doesn't work for everyone in every case. Um, so then I tried, um, you know, saying, talking about ideas in a different approach, or, you know, in a different kind of concept, and I mean, if you say someone not to do something, then it actually it's still in the back of their head. But if you kind of, you know, give a different idea and approach, that would kind of change the way um, of the old bad habit, then I try to go for when I teach, just, you know, kind of seeing from a different perspective, not, you know, not trying to fix or just, you know, get down to a problem, but kind of making them think in a way that goes around, so it's so that you kind of have the fuller view of the problem, and think differently than just to you know, trying to fix something. um, and I mean, I think over time I learned to be more patient, um, and that really helps for both me and, you know, the person I'm working with. Um, so we have good fun time. I'm not, you know, like 100% of the time, maybe 99%. I always try to be fun. So I think that also I learned over time. Question from Heather Diego: when you listen to your favorite own older recordings, what usually comes to mind? Do you have a different mindset when recording a work? Recording a work versus a live performance. I mean, I must say, I don't really have a favorite older recording of my own, but I mean, I like the way it sounds because, you know, it's in my taste. But I also hear what could, you know, be better. So I guess I always try to think more about, you know, what else I can work on, listening to the recordings, older recordings. If I have, do you have a different mindset recording of work versus a live performance? I guess live performance, I mean, I feel so much freer, and um, I mean, it's like this. I mean, this is great. I love CelloChat. I love watching them. I love doing this, but it's very different from, you know, talking to an actual person versus, you know, talking here with like a blank screen and just the questions. So, I mean, here I guess it's kind of it goes the same with recording. Um, I really just try to think more, um, think clearly, and just really, you know, try to answer all the questions as you know, seriously and as sincerely as I can. Whereas, I mean, when you're talking to a person, talking to someone in person, there's a lot more interaction, and there's a lot more expression there. I mean, and you also get the nuance of what the other person is saying, without really having to explain, without them having to explain every detail. So I guess that kind of makes the difference. Live performance, I feel like I can make music and invite people to enjoy the music I'm playing and I love. When I'm recording, it's more, I guess it's more of really just trying to create something that I can that I don't have to explain so much further. So it's I guess it's a little bit more detailed than a live performance, because there's no other way to add explanation and you know um, have interactions as much as a live performance. So I guess that um, I feel that way. What are some habits, mental, physical, you cultivate in the practice room that makes you a more confident performer? Um, I guess um, approaching the concert performances, just simulating myself in a concert hall, really just, I mean, it feels good because I know, they're not watching me at the moment, but I feel the space and the atmosphere, the communication, and I just when I practice in that way, mm, it I mean it's prepping for concerts more realistically. So I think that kind of gives me confidence that I can actually do it. Um, I mean, also, I mean, yes, I do get nervous before concerts, but I, I think I learned this in a psychology class or something. As I get nervous, our bodies, as we get nervous, our bodies tend to kind of shrink and be more um, um, restrained almost. And even without, trying to overcome the nervousness mentally, if I just physically just sit back and try to look cool and try to feel more relaxed, then that kind of calms me mentally too. Yeah, I think that that's kind of outside the practice room, but that helps me a lot. Yeah. Uh, Question from David Fitzner. What do you do if you have a lot of music to prepare? Do you play everything every day, or do you do like more intense sessions with just one or two pieces? I mean, if I have enough time, then I try to do try to have rotations in pieces. So I don't try to play everything every day. But I think usually I try to practice more in the beginning what I have to play later, because I know, like, knowing myself, approaching a performance, I know I can't focus on the pieces that I have to play later. So so in the beginning of the whole preparation, I try to practice whatever I have to play later in the tour or whatever the concert series, and then as I approach the first performance, I just practice that, and then after that, I do the next. So I guess I try to prepare a little bit more in the beginning and do a little bit more intensively with the pieces that I have to play next. I think that works for me. Um, how has your perspective as a musician and artist changed throughout your career? Well, I mean, it's not always, enjoyable and beautiful, but I also love the struggles and um, the hardships that come, especially in preparing, you know, performances. Um, and I mean, I guess you learn every day in every situation and kind of um, expand your perspective. But I don't think it like changed or anything for me. It's just I mean, as I play more and as I meet uh, different people, as I work on newer repertoire, it kind of expands my perspective. So that next time I know a little better what to expect and how to react um, to the new simulation, stimulation, not simulation, stimulation. So yeah, I think that kind of helps me. Um, it prepares me um, psychologically better. Just knowing, having a bigger perspective. Yes. Okay, I think that makes the end of the questions. Okay, if you can give any closing thoughts. Yeah, I mean, well, thank you, Cello Bello, for having me on here. In the cello chat. I think I did one like a few years ago during pandemic, and because of the time difference, it was like really early in the morning, I think, for me, and I was a little bit, you know, not awake. I'm still not that awake, I don't think, but um, it was, great to share ideas at a later point, like today, and just also kind of see how myself, how I um, have different ideas than back then. And also, I mean, the questions were really great. I loved all the questions. They were very, you know, mm, motivating, and I loved answering all the questions. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess thank you everyone for you know for joining our cello chat and the questions, and thank you Cello Bello for hosting the chat.